Good morning and welcome to Peace Out, where I'm practicing this morning. We're all learning together to peace out. Yeah, I'm having to practice. I'm a little bit late. Not too bad considering. Chris needed a little extra TLC this morning, and we were up late chasing storms, watching storms, making sure. I kept him up late just to make sure I didn't need to throw him in the bathroom where it's safe in there or not. But we were good here. Others weren't quite as fortunate. There was all kinds of crazy storms last night. I don't like nighttime storms anyway, but that's my list of excuses as to why I was a little bit late. But that's okay. We're here now, right? We're learning to peace out. We're going to talk about that today. Before I do, I want to say that this week's book of the week will be my leadership book, Making of a Leader. It has been translated into Urdu, and we have printed today. There's 300 copies at the printer now. So after those are printed and they're paid for, will be completely paid for by tonight when I send the rest of the money over there. And that'll be 1,800 copies of Making of a Leader. That means 1,500 have been printed and distributed already. So that just blows my mind. We've got over 3,000 books now. By the end of this week, there'll be about, or maybe early next week, because we've got a set of 900 books at the printers right now. So we're just doing it as we get the money. Then we're doing it. We're not going out. I'm not going out. When it comes in, we print it. If it doesn't, we wait on God. Right? I'm like, God, this is your baby. But it's still blowing my mind that Making of a Leader has become so popular across Pakistan. They're begging for it. We can't keep it in print. We've already printed almost 2,000 copies. So that's pretty cool. So you can support that Pakistani outreach, if you want to call it that, or ministries to Christians in Pakistan by purchasing my books from doesforministriesbookstore.com, which is fixing to go under major renovations, or on Amazon. That's available ebook, print, or Kindle. You can get any of those places. Anyway, enough about that, right? It's so exciting, though. So exciting to watch God just do something that you didn't know He was going to do. Had no idea, of where that was going to go when we started. It's just amazing. Working with an amazing Brother Marcus over there that just has done the work of translating and distributing and getting it to the printers and picking it up from the printers and all of that. God's people are just amazing all around the world, right? It's just amazing. We are family. So this morning, I found myself back in Jonah, and I don't know why. I was reading some in Malachi and reading some, so I was just kind of glancing through some stuff, kind of looking at mercy a little bit and grace and peace, and I found myself back in Jonah chapter 2, and it says this: Jonah's in the belly of the well. Okay, now he's there because of something he did. Sometimes we go through hard things, and it's not our own fault. I didn't plan Chris's wreck, right? So maybe we become a caregiver, or something happens to us. It's not always our fault, but sometimes our decisions get us in places that are tough, dark. The belly of the well was a really dark spot, right? So, and Jonah's decision got him in the belly of the well. Matter of fact, it said that God prepared the fish for Jonah. He said, I'm going to have that fish right there. When Jonah gets thrown out of that boat, that fish is going to swallow that little prophet, and it's going to make the whale sick, and he's going to throw him up on the land. Right? So God planned. He said He prepared the fish for Jonah. As a matter of fact, that's up in verse 17 of chapter 1. Now the Lord had prepared a great fish to swallow Jonah. Jonah was prepared. God was prepared for Jonah. God knew what Jonah was going to do, but God also knew Jonah was going to repent. It was going to take him 3 days in the belly in a really dark spot, right? And so Jonah was there because of something he did. We could say it was his fault. It was his choice that got him there. It was his bad choices, running from God. God said, go this way, so he went that way on purpose. And God said, let's just not play that, all right? Right? So most of us aren't in that kind of a position where but we do that sometimes. God says, let my peace reign, and we don't. And we find ourselves in a place with no peace. That's our own fault, if you want to say it that way. It may take us a process sometimes to work back. When things come at us, and we have things come pretty much every single day, and when things come at us, we always have a choice. We can be overcome by that circumstance, or we can stop and figure out, and I'm not saying it's easy, y'all. It is not always easy to just go, oh, we got this. I just let God's peace reign, and it's just a breeze. That does not mean it's a breeze. It may mean I got to do that 100 times a day or 100 times an hour. When something's dark, something's hard, something's difficult, something's unexpected, something's whatever, fill in the blank. It's not that easy. There's not a button to just go, oh, I'll just peace out. push the button. Oh, this is great. We'll just ride through the belly of the whale. We'll just ride through the storm. We'll just walk through the fire. We'll just swim. No, it's not that easy, right? In the middle of it, it can be a constant battle to keep our mind on God. But Jonah did that. Jonah messed up and ended up in the belly of the whale. And our circumstances many times aren't because we messed up. They're just life. They're just the stuff we're going through, right? It's just stuff that happens because maybe it's somebody else's choice, or maybe something happened to someone we love, or maybe something, it's just we have all kinds of circumstances and all kinds of reasons, and they're not always our fault. Okay, but Jonah, this was Jonah's fault. He could have just said, okay, God, I will go to Nineveh, and he could have gone, and we wouldn't have even had the book of Jonah. It would have been so boring, right? But we have it because he messed up. And so here Jonah is sitting in the middle of the belly of the well, and it says that he cried out to God from the belly of the well, the fish's belly, the New King James says. It says, I cried out to the Lord because of my affliction. And get this, he answered me. God wasn't obligated to answer Jonah, but he did. He was waiting for Jonah to call out to him. That's not even what I want to talk about. It's down in verse 4. It says this. He said, then I said, this is Jonah, then I said, I have been cast out of your sight, yet I will look again toward your holy temple. Jonah's going, okay, look, I messed up, God. God, this is a repentance prayer, right? And he's saying, I messed up, and he looked again. He looked back toward God. He looked back towards God's mercy. He looked back towards God's grace. He looked back towards the God who he served. And it was a choice to look back. And sometimes when we're in hard circumstances, difficult circumstances, we need to just take a minute to look again. Take a minute to look back at what things you have come through in your life and how God has brought you through them. Take a minute to look back at the things in your life and think, oh man, I didn't even know God was working in that. I didn't know his mercy like I know it now. I didn't know his grace like I know it now. I didn't know his peace like I know it now. We can look back at circumstances in our life and go, I know God carried me through that. And they can be by our own doing or something that has happened to us. We could even be a victim, although we want to take a victim's mentality, but we could have been a victim of a crime or a victim of just heinous activities of some sort, right? And yet we can look back and go, God's mercy was there. So I encourage you today to look again at the times God's carried you through before. Look again at the times he gave you peace that you couldn't understand. Look again at the times that you know it was his mercy that carried you through something. Look again at the times that you know it was his grace that helped you in the time of need. Look again at the circumstances, the situations, the problems you may have had earlier, and you know there was no way out of them, and God was there. Take a minute to look again at God's actions in your life, his presence in your life, and his peace that you've known before, and maybe it's right now. Maybe you're experiencing that moment right now. And that is, just take a moment to look again at his peace, to look again at the promises in his word, to look again at his mercies that are new this morning, early this morning. Before I ever got up, his mercies were brand new, right? For me, for today. So take a minute to look again at the promises that God has given us, that he'll never leave us, that he's a refuge in the storm. He's a refuge in the time of trouble. There's a lot of scriptures throughout all of the Psalms, especially. It just talks about God being our refuge in the middle of the storm. And David talked about how when Saul was pursuing, David was always running to God's heart. He was always looking again to the hand of God moving in his life and looking for the hand of God to move in his life. So there's two things to look for today. It's a double whammy. One, take a minute to look back at all the things you know God did in your life. Whether it was just give you peace, whether it was a financial blessing, whether he got you out of pickle, some sort of pickle you got yourself into or you didn't, or something that happened to you. He came through, maybe brought you through a wreck, brought you through an illness, we all came through the pandemic, woohoo, right? So look back at the things you know God has had his hand in your life. And then look again at his mercy, because it's still here today. It didn't expire. You didn't use it up. He didn't say, oh, you got one more crisis here and then we're done here. You don't have any more mercy. Do you want to use your crisis here? You want to use my mercy here in this crisis, or you want to wait for the next one? Because you don't know what the next one might be. He doesn't run out. Look again at his peace that is constant, even when we don't trust it, right? Look again at his grace that is enough for today. So we're going to look again at all the things he's brought us through, look again at his grace, his love, his mercy, his peace, and say, we got today. Today, I can peace out because God's had me, and I know he's going to continue to have me no matter what happens from here on out. That's why we can trust him, and that's why we can peace out. So peace out. Have a great day. I'll see you again tomorrow.